last week I had launched this, so this is it, and this is actually vlog 109. I'm trying to be a little more organized. So now hello everyone, wish you a very happy 2022. I don't know about very happy, but at least hope this year is better than last. Unfortunately, we are already seeing, today I read some news about another variant which is deadlier than Omicron from France. So it's just, I think, one thing after the other. We knew we were prepared, but things are much harder for a lot more people in countries which are more crowded. So on a very solemn note, I know a lot of parties got cancelled, people were very unhappy, and I had the luxury of being in a place where it was not crowded. So I do hope that next few months, and as the summer we start looking forward to summer, things get better. Now let's get into the good part. Is there a good part? Yes, there is a good part. I hope there is this year. At least where I'm sitting and what I'm working on, I always get excited when I see a little bit things happening here and there with my work that I've been working on for, I don't know, the same idea for 20 years. So I don't know why I don't get tired, because it's just fun and exciting. So let's first talk about from the desk of DesiPopWorld. People who have no idea what this is, DesiPopWorld is basically a platform where we are inviting artists, writers, 3D modelers, 2D designers, superhero geeks, storytellers, fan fiction writers to come together, collaborate with each other, learn about things that if you had to learn yourself would take you months, years, because there is so much on the internet. On one hand, it's great that there is so much, but then on the other hand, there is just so much that you don't know where to begin. And one of the biggest things that we are trying to do through this whole DesiPopWorld network, and the account is at DesiPopWorld on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn as of now. YouTube is just pretty much used by our designers to kind of right now just make videos when we are testing them out, and we are coming out with something very interesting tomorrow, which I'll talk about later. So the idea here is that it started with something that I had started 20 years ago, and I've continued that passion in some ways or the other. Every business or in every project that I have worked on over the last 20 years, I tend to just, out of 30 people that I meet, there are one or two people you have meeting of the minds, you kind of stay in touch back and forth, even if you get into arguments, and knowing people who know me, I get into them a lot, but that just helps. Like, people who go past the argument, I just feel have a better chance of making it in the competitive creative startup world, which is going to explode in the next 5 years. We're just not even at the tip of that iceberg. So for me, DesiPopWorld is pretty much that one platform, and I will start with talking about this one person who I knew over about 10 years ago. I think 7 years ago, we landed up exchanging some ideas, and he is a scriptwriter, but his day job was something else, a tech job. And then last year, through a common friend, we got in touch again, and now and we started our first artist-to-artist program. What it was that there is no, of course, you sign the NDA and you have to work within the realms of what the current law from an IP standpoint provides us. So we got together, and then we started, of course, we went through the NDA process, and we started exchanging ideas. And he is a superhero geek, to the sense that for the last 10 years, he's been working on this whole superhero universe idea, a Desi superhero universe, and it's inspired by this word called runes. And runes, I didn't know what it actually means. So I'm going to actually talk about this and read it out, because I want to make sure I don't make a mistake. So the universe is called Mind Rune, and it's an original superhero universe based on the ideology of runes. Runes are basically unpolished, unfinished, and unexhausted remains of something. In our case, it is the remains of a thought which was established 500 years ago, and now it showcases a story of original characters from different universe. So this is basically the baby of this person called, and I don't think he even knows this, and this is, I am kind of embarrassing myself and saying it out loud to the world for the first time. He doesn't even know it. For the longest time, I thought his surname was Mithai Wala. So even in my family, I was like, his name is ex Mithai Wala. Okay. And then when we were doing our paperwork and exchanging emails, and I had to make an email ID when he collaborated with me, where he's now part of this whole crazy world that we set out to do. His surname is Mithi Borwala. I will have to find out what it means, and this is something that I figured out very late. By then, I think it was too old a joke for me to run it by him. So Hassan Mithi Borwala is pretty much the brainchild and the seed bore of this mind rune. And from there on, now what do we do with this mind rune? We are launching our first character in the next 3 or 4 days. There is obviously my marketing department is figuring out, how they want to, try and make a little bit of a noise. Are we looking at very small audiences? So obviously we're going to start very small, and it's going to reside under the big umbrella called Desi Superverse. So, sorry, as of now, this is still holiday food. I'm so embarrassed and sorry. So, okay, so what was I talking about? Yes, so we are starting out with Desi Superverse, and in Desi Superverse, we are going to have Mind Rune, which is our original storytelling characters, original characters. Currently, we have about 7 that we are already planning to launch. The schedule of which, obviously, we are starting out 2 days from now, if I'm not mistaken. And the idea is that Hassan and I started collaborating where he already had the stories, he had the basic structure, the character sketches, he even has a couple of movies written. But for us to look at, there were 2 options, and he's the kind of person who has been approached by a couple of bigger, not the big guys, but some medium-sized companies who are looking for superhero projects. But he didn't, because his ideology is also based on the principles of open source, the Metaverse Blue Ocean strategy, the Blender community. And he also very strongly feels that we should look at how every piece of original IP that we put out, how can we work with 10 other people who can use this original IP and exploit their inner creativity, because to come up with something very original and then go out and pitch to people is a very tall order. Yes, you might have books which will say, okay, you can write a screenplay, but it's always good to have somebody who's gone through that journey and makes it easier and shorter for you, rather than you having to go through that same journey all over again and then reach that same point, because things are moving so fast. So we've already talked about Mind Rune, and the idea, what we are planning to do is the first character which will be out, he got a 2D artist who did the whole sketching and beautiful artwork, based on which I took it up, and I am now creating the 3D universe with this character, the clothing physics of it, using Marvelous Designer. So I'll talk about that software some other time. And then you look at, whether you look at a ZBrush or a Blender, use any of these, creating the 3D model, then looking at softwares like iClone. You can do the whole thing in Blender as well, but I kind of got into iClone, so I like that. Then from the 2D world, I'm more comfortable with Character Animator, which Adobe has, where you make the 2D puppetry. So with all these blends, what I'm trying to do is figure out what are the 7-8 softwares links that I can make. And as an individual, this is going to be a very tall order if anybody tries to do that. But because I've been working on the same thing for over the last 5 years, we're trying to create this toolkit. Now what happens is, with the cell phones that are available, you can, like terms, I'm just going to throw out some terms and you can ask me questions later where I can explain that in detail. Markerless motion capture. What exactly does that mean? It actually means that earlier you would see these big documentaries or the movie Avatar, where you wear these heavy suits and it captures all your motions, etc. You'll have dots on the faces. Now all of that technology for the Aam Janta, for the common man, in not as good quality but doable enough for you to be able to make content, is in the phone. There are apps available where you can scan your own face. As soon as you scan your own face, then you need to go to a little bit of a advanced software to be able to transfer those features of that face onto that digital puppet of yourself that you're making, which can then represent you in the metaverse or in the digital space or whatever you want. So this is kind of the steps, and this is not the thing that I can explain on Instagram or take you through all of the process, because the Instagram, whatever the limitations are. So one good news is that people who still have the energy to listen to my rant, tomorrow we are launching our Twitch channel, my Twitch channel, Shelja NYC, and Hassan will be joining. And this is going to be the beginning of a very unique artist to artist program, where we are going to be focusing on people who want to tell stories of Jammu and Kashmir. And not ironic, it's just so amazing that my first artist to artist program with a stranger who I just met online, Majid, the other day, he and I were chatting. He is, as far as I'm concerned, a teacher. Like anyone who reaches out to me, who tells me that he's a teacher and he wants certain people to learn about this new tech and how can we make lives better for the people who are in these crazy environments, for me, I'm a sucker for that. So after, I can't believe that I started with Nigeria, went to Iran, and now I am working with somebody in a creative space who I didn't know is from Srinagar, and I've been there, and I'll talk about that when we expand. So absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to see where the artists of that state take this, because for me, Jammu and Kashmir just is like the Bollywood films that I grew up in, and I'm a 70s kid, so obviously the VCR and VHS tape era, I remember watching this movie, Shami Kapoor and Sharmila Tagore on that Shikara. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. So tomorrow we are going to kind of officially launch it, invite people to come and discuss with us how we can collaborate. How it's going to work is that we are going to start with the superhero universe, right? Now, currently there are two artists working. One is a 2D artist who's making all these 2D illustrations. We are going to look at digital comic book covers, etc. The same thing is going to be on 3D. Now, this character, while right now the story is, of course, because we're still kind of establishing the story and we are establishing the whole ecosystem around it for users to realize and to figure out which user identifies with this superhero character, because obviously there are very, very strong ideologies each superhero or supervillain carries. So this character, when we launch, now when I am making this 3D character, I am giving it my interpretation. So that is where the collaborative aspect comes in. And Hassan is the first person where we started this with an idea, and now he is actually a co-founder of Desi Superverse. What is Desi Superverse? Mind-ruined superhero universe resides under Desi Superverse. Desi Superverse is, and now this team, what have they written? Okay. Oh my God. ये बहुत ही okay. Let me read it out because my team has read it and I don't want to make a mistake again. So if you have an original script for Superverse where your OG characters, okay. So clearly my team is a fan of Billions, not Billions. What is that thing? Succession. Sorry. Okay. So your OG characters from different universes come together to form a solitary storyline. We can provide you a pedestal to showcase your incredible thinking. DSV, a short form for Desi Superverse, is so diversified and unfolding that you not only bring and witness OG stories, but you also witness a multiverse story of our favorite iconic characters from Bollywood who are turned into superheroes and supervillains. So this is something I didn't know that they had. My bad, I had not read it. They had sent me earlier. I should have read this. I had planned a whole speech on how I'm going to kind of introduce that. So I'll come back to that. So Desi Superverse is basically, again, we are starting with Instagram. Currently, because we are such a small company, there are too many brands. So we are focusing all our multiple brands to be on Instagram. And we are going to look at DesiPopWorld being the kind of mouthpiece which will talk about all these small little verticals that we are focusing on. So we have a DesiPopWorld, we have this where you can, like if you are a 3D modeler, you're a 2D artist, you're a writer, you have a superhero story, you can just go to DesiPopWorld and reach out. And if you don't know what you want to work on, because we also have a chibi style character storytelling, there's a whole concept behind that as well. So you can just go and reach out if you don't know where to begin. You can do the same on LinkedIn. Now let's move on to Desi Superverse. So people who are very sure that they want to work in the superhero space. Oh, my team member has joined. Arey, aaj to matlab I am going to so rag her. Nidhi, will you come live, please? Of course, now she's going to kill me on my WhatsApp. I'm not looking at the WhatsApp. Sorry, I don't know what you're saying. So you'll have to join me. So as you see, Nidhi, she is basically one crazy person who I found in the next generation who actually understood all the shit that I've been talking for the last 10 years. My generation, my friends, nobody did. Thankfully, she did. So now we have, so as I said, DesiPopWorld is our main umbrella. Then we have DesiPop Things. Now, DesiPop Things is a very, very quirky, unique concept, which I feel that this next generation is more attuned to, because the idea of looking at objects and giving objects emotions, we've seen that since our childhood in toy form, etc. However, because of Pixar movies and looking at all these animated content being made through objects where you okay, Neha, hi Neha, let me just finish this. Thank you for requesting. I'll finish this round and then I will definitely have a quick chat with you. Give me 10 minutes, but please be here. Neha is somebody who I worked with in Comic Con for a project in India when we were launching in Comic Con Mumbai, and she was also part of my team when I was working on Singham Returns. So another very enterprising woman who has some very interesting ideas about a lot of interesting things. So we'll talk about that as well. Coming back to, what was I talking about? Desi Superverse. So Desi Superverse, I talked about Mindrune, which is the original piece. I am launching my 3D version, and then, so this is commendable from a writer's point of view, that he has that confidence to be able to collaborate with different artists and let them play around with his creation and interpretation. So this is a new way for us to try and at least create a presence in the space where we know that 80%, 90% of the economic model is based on foreign properties, like whether you look at Hollywood or East Asia, etc. In India, we don't have anything which binds the whole community, apart from obviously we have 2-3 properties which have really done proud. Like if you look at Chota Bheem is one big company property. What the owner of that company, Rajiv, everybody knows him in the animation space, what he has done for the animation industry in terms of bringing that quality of content into the homes of people. What we would like to do is look at what the animation industry has done till now, how we have kind of been a very important player when it comes to the back end of it. Like the big Hollywood companies, they would come to India and we would first clean up wires, then we got into a lot of good stuff. Like there are some 7-8 very good VFX companies in India who do a lot of good work. But when we look at the metaverse, when we look at the next 30 years of this creator economy, one of the things that I read an article about, and I'm going to bring that up, and I always refer to this website called virtualhumans.org. You guys should definitely, anyone who's interested in digital humans, virtual influencers, you should go there and read what he writes about, his whole take on the articles he chooses to publish or curates. It's amazing. I get a lot of my learnings from that. So there I read a recent article about, does diversity matter in the metaverse? So here we are talking about comic books, superheroes. Obviously everybody knows Disney, Marvel, DC, the big 5-7, like the Aam Janta ones. And then you have a very rich and flourishing worldwide community of graphic novelists, independent artists, etc. Metaverse gives us a chance to bring them onto the forefront and completely elevate the quality. Because recently, even in the even on the Indian podcasts and American podcasts, I have seen a lot of Marvel bashing, that they keep how many more Batman movies do we want, how many more superhero movies do we want, and this is a debate that is never ending. That like the older generation will say, why do we need this? The younger generation will say, you guys had that, and it just goes on and on and on. Instead of focusing on that, what we have chosen to do, and this is where Hassan and I'm just so excited to kind of launch this and show you guys what we are working on. The ideology is that he has come up with this whole superhero universe idea. Now there are these next gen kids who have grown up on Marvel, DC, but are also constantly bombarded with good and bad things of our own culture, mythology, religion, food, whether an animal is food or God, all these choices that are there. Now these tools allow us to just tell simple stories based on whatever they see around, because on one hand we have this whole big revolution in the education system where we need to create different kind of educational modules, but what is the practical use of it? That is where we are looking at it. So now Desi Pop thinks, as I was saying, that's Nidhi, she's kind of like the architect of completely badgered me into no, this will work, so please help her make it work. So what it is what she did was she started with a series called Bura Bhala series. She took 10 iconic villains from Bollywood movies. Now these 10 Bollywood villains are so iconic that you don't need to know their names, you don't need to know their full outfit, because they have become as big as symbols, and with one symbol you can tell. So then what does that mean? Does that mean that is still an IP, that if I think about it and talk about it, like Happy Birthday, if I sing at home and I record a video and put it up on YouTube, I have to pay someone? Or Are O Samba, if I say Are O Samba, am I violating the copyright? Are O Nidhi, am I violating the copyright? Now, where do you draw the line? What will be the future IP copyright look like? What will be the future IP law look like? That is where we are looking at these social media platforms to bring about all the people who constantly use these lines, use these ideas to create content, but there is no channel for them to make a tentpole strategy from their value add services that they have brought into that same content and line. Because not like the original IP owners have the brains to do anything, right? They are just sitting on it, say कि बाहर से कोई आएगा, $100 million देगा, and I'll be happy. So then what's the point? And anyway, now the time has gone to do that, because they are too late and they have missed the boat. Now with the meme culture, however hard they try, it's out there. Nobody can do anything. And the new movies that come out, the new generation is very clear. The next generation is very clear as to trying to, it's misguided for most of them, but at least their basic idea is very clear, that what IP meant to us and our culture is not going to remain the same. So coming back to, so this is where the virtual influencer cycle comes back, where when I talked about this diversity matters. So the article talked about that the way our society is, we have read a lot of articles where AI is biased, AI is racist. Why is AI racist? Because at the end of the day, we are the ones who's feeding all this information. And when we say we, who are the top leaders in tech companies? In America, for example, for the longest time, there was this whole white men privilege, white men. So if white people and their experiences are constantly being fed to a machine, then the machine is going to learn like that. It's very similar to when you look at people judging parenting, like anything that happens to anybody, uske maa baap ne yahi sikhaya. Obviously, mother first, father later, कि माँ बाप ने यही सिखाया. So the fact that whatever you teach, your kid is our whole society is built on that notion that whatever you are, if you're doing even slightly wrong, it's your parents' fault or your upbringing's fault or whatever it is. The same applies to AI as well. So from that point of view, the diversity conversation comes into play, at least here in America, where who are the CEOs of these big tech AI companies, the innovative companies, the creator economy companies. And this is where this gentleman talks a lot about, and there is a Institute of Fashion Design, I don't know which one was it, where IODF, where they did a whole search saying that the LGBTQI community, the transgender community, the women from minority communities, and especially in India's cases, I don't want to get into the reservation side of it in the government jobs, but the fact is everybody knows the kind of facilities we have for the lower caste, like, which a lot of people say, oh, there's no caste. Of course, we know what the reality is on the ground. So for all those people, the idea that technology is available now and you don't need to be a millionaire, you don't need to go to big fancy schools to be able to get on this creator economy highway. Now comes the question of language. That is the biggest barrier, because if you look at all these softwares that I'm talking about, I do see a lot of YouTube videos where there are some people who do fantastic work in, I've seen in Hindi, I've seen in Bengali, because whatever languages I understand, whatever little research I did see some of the languages which I understand in periphery, like whether you look at Marwari, Gujarati, Punjabi. I've seen a lot of, and of course South Indian, all the 4 languages, there are a lot of tech people who are explaining. But the interfaces of these softwares are not in that language, and the terms. So for example, I work in ZBrush, so I'll give an example of ZBrush. Now when I'm working on ZBrush, now on the right, like all the toolbars that are there, the Hindi words are so complicated because you are still using the Sanskrit and the because there is no colloquial Hindi that gets added. So then the people who don't know a word of English are first then needed to learn English. So one of the things in the open source, one of the things what I would like to really kind of promote, and especially people who can code. So if you look at all of these softwares, there's always this scripts where you can actually edit certain interface things. If we could have people who specialize in creating these plugins to make the interfaces in different languages with easy either symbols or letters or whatever, so that it becomes easier to teach those softwares to people who might not know how to read and write. The reason why I say I'm very confident of people who don't know how to read and write be able to do this is because I have seen that in very small numbers, like about 10-15 people who I have interacted with, who have shown interest, and I've seen them learn and move forward. And the second is that I am one of those people who, like in school, if I got 20 in math, like, oh my God, I must have done something right. I was that bad. And today, just through these softwares, I am being able to understand a lot of complex geometrical, like whatever 3-dimensional space related stuff, which if you ask me to explain mathematically, I will not be able to explain, but visually I will be able to do it. So on our Twitch channel, which is going to be tomorrow, again 12 o'clock, we are going to start Shelja NYC. I'm going to probably put up some teaser today, I'm not sure, I'll see, where we are going to first talk about Desi Superverse, we are going to talk about Mind Room, and then the one that I missed out talking about is the Bollywood Superhero League. Now what is Bollywood Superhero League? Okay, so now imagine a universe of storytelling where your fan fiction can come to life with click of few buttons. That's where we are headed. But before we get to that, Bollywood Superhero Universe is again a similar platform where iconic songs, characters, you put them in unique situations. So we have come up with a fan league where 110 songs, 10 teams, one superhero league, and we're working on certain game ideas and multiplayer situations, and we'll see how that goes. But to start with, again, once you see what we launch and the characters that we are letting out, if you want to use these 3D assets, if you have stories that you want us to create with your ideas, we'll collaborate and do that. And please note that the monetary aspect is always going to be added onto the contracts, because we are not a company where we can pay you $60 an hour and $30 an hour. Yes, we do hire people, but that is at a very small place because we are not a funded company. So Hassan is the biggest example, and and tomorrow, please do come and we'll have a 20-minute Q&A session with Hassan where he's going to talk about how he stuck with an idea for 10 years while doing a full-time job and a family and all the things that life offers, yet was constantly able to do that. And even after 10 years, he chose not to just pick this up and sell it to a big superhero company because that's the demand these days, but he chose to stick it out and actually build something for the creative economy so that all his characters can help 100 other kids or 100 other people get exposed, learn from this whole process of what we are doing, learn with us, and then be able to create your own superhero universe or any other universe that can reside either under Desi Superverse or under Desi Pop Things, Desi Pop Fashion. There's a whole bunch of small verticals that are coming out, which is basically each vertical is targeted at one niche. That's where the whole structure of what we are trying to do on Instagram is all about. So this is, if please go through all the jargon that I have said, please put in whatever questions you have, please reach out. We are also hiring a couple of people who are just going to be trained to be able to answer these questions. Okay, now now a little bit intro about Bollyverse. Firstly, Bollyverse I think is another account. So we are starting out with Bollywood superhero universe, and it's the world's first fan-driven Bollywood superhero league where all your favorite characters come to life with a twist, starting with item numbers. So we are starting with 110 item numbers, all women, and I did get into an argument in my team with all my male co-workers that what is this? This is reverse sexism कि आपकी कंपनी में खाली आप लड़कियां कर रहे हो. तो I said, you know, आप लोग ने 200 साल 500 साल ऐसा किया है तो 2 साल कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, it's okay. So the idea is that we have shortlisted about 110 songs. We've divided them based on different ideas and certain fun symbols. There are 10 teams, and then we are looking to collaborate with 110 artists, 110 script writers, each one who's your favorite character, and then we have gotten a whole set of 3D sets of movies. We have premises already written down. Once you collaborate, the idea is we take these small little pockets, start creating short, like 1 minute or 3 minute, and each of these are speed storytelling. So one of the things that we are really focused on is getting into the speed storytelling cycle. Like the way you have improv comedy, there is going to be improv speed storytelling, and it's actually XR speed storytelling, experiential reality. So whether you look at virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, or fully go into the metaverse using VR and just make it for that world, not for television, there are a lot of different segments and small little options that are there that you can go ahead with. So the idea with the Bollywood superhero universe is that these are characters that you've grown up with. You could pick up a character from 1950s, mix up those clothes with this, and the fashion design students, because we've always been very influenced by the fashion that Bollywood has shown us. So how do you use those learnings into the digital metaverse? What's your interpretation of each design clothing that was there? Because there is no copyright for all of this. And if filmmakers want to get into copywriting all of that, then the budget of these big budget films from 100 crore will probably, for the international market, will go up to like 500, 600 crores. So I think it is probably the best time for especially all the people who somewhere want to do something with Bollywood, want to create certain things. You don't have to go to Bombay, or you don't have to be in a certain locality in Bombay to feel Bollywood, right? The idea that internet memes have become so popular, and if you look at the statistics in India, the Bollywood memes are at the top, which is what storytelling. So nobody is stopping you, and now for the hardcore artists, you can sit in wherever you are and be able to use all of this. It's just a function of curation. So tomorrow we will start with how do you even come up with an idea, convert that, create a character, create the storytelling, do the lighting, do the animation, set up the camera, everything, render it out. All of that can be done in 3 days or 2 days. So imagine if you alone, without knowing and without being a very good artist, are able to do that with all the tools available. What would you be able to do? A lot of people are just very taken aback when this level of choice is given, which is what we went through. Same thing. Hassan and I went through the same thing. So we started looking at that. If somebody told me, okay, out of this 4, what you want to choose, I will be able to choose one and say, acha, isko thoda change kar do. Like, let's make a little edit there. That becomes a little easier. So we are basically providing, or we are hoping to provide that kind of an infrastructure for people to come and say, okay, I know the story, I know the character, but I don't know how to do 2D. So then we already have a bunch of kids who are doing very good 2D work, but they are not into the storytelling, writing. They can't even speak the same language. Doesn't matter, because in today's days, nobody gives a shit what language you know. So that's the principle that we are following. And any other company, any other startup who feels the same way, please reach out. Okay. And then, of course, NFTs. I will talk about that after. So this is pretty much the whole geek talk that I wanted to give on our DesiPopWorld. And now I'm going to accept Neha. She used to work with me. We'll have a quick chat and then I'll go back to talking about the things that I have written about. Okay, let's... Neha, there is a problem. I'm not being able to do that. I'm clicking on accept. It's not accepting. I don't know what's going on. Let's connect after the call is done. I'll reach out to you on WhatsApp and then we'll have a chat and figure this out. Maybe you can join me on Thursday. I don't know what's happening. I'm clicking on accept. It's not accepting. So maybe because I've used a filter. Oh, one very good thing I wanted to inform was that finally I was able to use a filter on Instagram which flips it. So now when I do this, because earlier 8 videos when I was trying to edit, I was getting freaked out because my right hand is this. And when I'm looking at the mirror thing, it's left hand, and it was really freaking me out. So I was not able to edit. So now I feel a little comfortable and hopefully I'll be able to edit and show relevant clips for people who don't have the time to hear me rant for an hour. Okay, now the next things I wanted to talk about. So first is there has been a rise of women-only social media platforms. Let's talk about that. So, dear men, who are pretty much the people who have taken it upon themselves to launch the social media safe environment for women. Fucking stop it. This is nothing but trying to put women in digital ghungat. Why are you focused on a safe haven? This is my point of view because I have the luxury. I'm sure there is the other side of the debate. I'll come to that as well. Social media, firstly, so calling it social media safe haven for women, instead of trying to intermingle the society, you are using digital tools to separate them even further. Isn't it enough that the schools in India are all segregated, boys, girls, till whatever time? At least in one of the biggest cities of the country, Calcutta, where I grew up, even today, maximum number of schools, even colleges are separated. What the fuck? So we don't need social media and another safe haven and go back to 1930s. That's one. Second is, if a safe haven social media company is required, women can do that. We don't need fucking men with their privileges to come and say, "Acha bhai, hum aapko protect karenge." Fuck off. We don't need your protection as far as this is concerned. So please, any investor. So let me tell you one more thing. Next should be all the companies all over the world in the creator economy led by women who are looking at who's investing in the company needs to start looking at those investors. What do they invest in? Because that is what is going to show your moral compass. I know for a fact that right now my company is this tiny. Even if it becomes this and somebody is interested in investing even $200,000, my first question will be, are you investing in a fucking company which is a safe haven for women? If yes, I want to know who's on the board, how many are men, how many are women, how many are privileged women, how many are women from the community who needs protection. These are the questions that all startup entrepreneurs, especially women, need to ask, especially in a country like India. We don't need male kartas to protect the women by creating a digital fucking wall that I call digital ghungat. That needs to stop. So that is one of my rants that I have let out. So that was my bitching for today. Next. Okay. Now coming back to the shows. Let's talk about, no, sorry, I have to still talk about the, okay. Alex Atala, I think I have pronounced correctly. He is the co-founder of OpenSea. And he said in an email that we are already seeing early use cases of NFTs being used as event tickets, software licenses, fan club memberships, or otherwise tied to interactive experiences. So one of the big things wherever I go, because I follow so much of tech news, everywhere I go, everyone is constantly talking about NFT, 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 and how NFT is going to have an impact on every business. For me, the biggest worry is that NFT is very quickly getting hijacked by the same conventional companies who are already at the top of the food chain. And a lot of these and all these guys, especially boys, any party you go to, first thing crypto में invest किया क्या, NFT में invest किया क्या. So the whole conversation don't make it very male dominated, because then suddenly the girls will be like, oh, I look so pretty now, but my nail polish will start happening all over again, because a lot of people feel like, I am one of those people who feels very freaked out with numbers, yet I can talk tech. So I have noticed, and whether the next generation can call me sexist, I don't care, but at least even today, I do see a huge difference in the interests of what boys have and what girls have. So let's not pretend that it's just a function of blue and pink. Yes, that is a very important piece of why this has happened so rapidly. Yet, there is something to be said in the environment of the house, what you give, like what you tell your boy or girl, I suppose. I don't know. So I do feel that the reason we need to look at NFTs and go down to the brass level, like 8th standard student, 9th standard students, for them to understand what NFTs is from a visual perspective and how it functions. Don't make it all about codes and tech and how to upload, and all of that is very basic. You can get some tech person to help you out and it's not a big deal. So the first thing is, you look at, as soon as you get into fan clubs, memberships, that means you are again starting to use this more from an exclusivity point of view, which means that you are making this aspirational. You're making, like, if you go to a very fancy club, do you have an NFT? And they're already doing it, NFT invitation cards, etc. So NFT is slowly just becoming, I think, I'm not sure how far I'm taking this by saying, when we were in 90s, SSL was this big thing, a secured certificate, server secured certificate, SSL, which you had to take if you were doing e-commerce. And even today, like, you have the security system. So an NFT, I just feel, will slowly become um, a secure layer. Anything and everything will be NFT. Yesterday, I read an article which says Samsung has just started making smart TVs with NFT integration. What exactly does this mean? I want to bring that up. So, when TV innovation started, LED, LCD, all of that crap happened, and 4K happened. 4K took a very long time to evolve. Why? Because hardware, you've made 4K. But people who are making movies, making content, their camera needs to get upgraded for them to shoot it in 4K. When you shoot it in 4K, which means that the quality, the file size, etc., are big, which means that the backend of that movie making industry, where you look at people who are doing editing or anything else, everything needs to get upgraded. So it took a very long time for the people and for people like us to make sure that no other Facebook kind of a company just comes in, hijacks the whole thing, and then there are these two trillionaires sitting on this whole NFT market. So for me, that is something which I am very, very kind of passionate about, especially because how I have seen the art market react to the NFT space, especially how I have seen the fashion market react to NFT space. And that is one of the reasons why even our whole Desi Pop World, or we look at Desi Superverse, Mind Rule, and Bollywood Superhero League, the idea is to look at all these pieces of IP content that is already there, how you don't just take a piece and reprint it and collect it, but how you take that
and add your ideas, add your own value to it. Now what that value add is equal to is where you are going to make money. So for us, Desi Superverse is nothing but a, I hate using the word platform because everybody started using the word platform, and the meaning of the word platform has also become very, very hazy now. But it's literally a platform for people to come and trade their creativity for money, and the outcome is future fodder for the next person to look at that as an ingredient and make their own dish, and this cycle kind of continues. So that's what we are trying to do with this whole Desi Superverse, pop world, pop fashion, etc., etc. Now, um, what else do I need to talk about? Yes. um, Next gen music ownership and remix laws. So the way this whole, so now I'll explain this a little further. The way I have understood is that the way the remix industry is currently functioning in the entertainment, I don't know the Indian laws where they have reached, but US, I understand a little bit of the remix laws, and if you're taking an original piece, and nowadays YouTube and Instagram and all of these already have contracts, so it becomes very easy to do a click and, you know, you click something and it automatically gets added, etc. Or the way the YouTube advertising works, that let's say if I have used somebody's IP, and because of the digital fingerprint, that account has acknowledged, has said that okay, she's using my IP, it's up to them to then say okay, no, she's violating, and tell her to stop. Or they have thought about it and come up with the idea that okay, this song I know for a fact 1 million people are going to remix, so let's look at what our remix laws are and bring down the price of people being able to use it. So this whole fee-based thing, there is a term called freemium model, which everybody I'm sure understands, where you download an app, it's for free, but then every step that you go, you keep giving little money for whatever, right? Subscription model or freemium model. So that's the same thing that is going to apply even in the use of original IP, and the value of original IP is going to start getting, like, it's currently what happens is that the value of original IP goes over time. But in the next generation, what has happened is that how easily the creator of an original IP, how easy he makes every other creative person to use and exploit in a good way, use that idea, maybe use the whole story, maybe use one line, how open the creator is to allow other people to let their ideas interfere or maybe merge in the original IP. And the more creations you can create with that original IP will determine the value of this original IP. It will not determine that, okay, this movie made $200 million, but this movie made 500 crores, the star is worth 1,000 crores. He has taken out an NFT of the poster, which will now be million posters, and each one can take it. That model is not going to get any value because in the resale market, nobody's fucking interested in that postcard. What am I interested in? What did I do with the postcard as an artist? So the value will be of the artist, of the writer, of the sketch artist, of the creator, of the marketer. The marketing guy is going to become a creative person, or the creative person will become the marketing person, and that two roles are, we are seeing, and that we've already seen over the last 5 years, change, where the marketer's role and the creative role is getting merged. And a new word has come out, which is called the Chief Impact Officer. Basically meaning, so in Indian context or in world celebrity context, the brand ambassador, where you just pay $3 million and that person comes and says something, the utility of that and the contract of that will also change, because the brands are not going to pay that kind of money to the big celebrities for them to come for 2 hours anymore. That whole trend is going to finish completely. It is going to now be on the celebrity and the wannabe celebrity and the wannabe influencer, how innovative they are, what pitch they give to the brand, that what can they bring to the table. nobody can now come and say, oh, he's a star, iska to like market mein his 1 hour is worth 10 crores. That's not going to happen. Neither will it happen for the stars, neither will it happen for the creators, directors, big studios, producers, because the world is going back to the whole underground phase of indie music, where imagine if maximum people are searching for niche indie products, indie NFTs, where creativity is valued, which means like all of us are now becoming Indiana Jones looking for treasure. So that treasure will be, the more deep it is hidden, the more value it will have. So that whole antique value space will come from what creativity you are putting into an IP that was made, like say, 100 years ago. Winnie the Pooh and Bambi, okay, they went into public domain. I think Ryan Reynolds, I follow his, so he's the one who I think talked about, or I don't know, one more person talked about, where this has gone into the public domain. And there are these people, so there is one person who's already got an interpretation of Winnie the Pooh, what they're going to do in the open source, because it's gone into public domain. Now imagine if we look at the same principle and we look at absolutely crazy, iconic dialogues and song lines and scenes and maybe some costume from movies, which are so iconic that even like, there is this one particular sari in a movie where there is a particular pattern, and you put that pattern anywhere and people, at least like 100 million people, will know where is that from. Now you take that pattern and you create a whole cycle of merchandise around it, like a desi pop things. What can you do with that? So even our superhero, when we are launching a superhero, I think 5 days from now, where we reveal his character and his background and everything, as soon as we do that, within a few, I think, weeks maybe, we are going to launch the NFT. We are going to have a Desi Pop themes range for this character, where this particular superhero, what drink he likes, what kind of clothes he likes, is he a branded guy, what is his ideology. So I can actually, now the 6 billion people on the world are not just competing with themselves and each other, but you are competing with alien personalities coming out of people's minds who will have bigger role to play in society to earn money for you. So how are you going to, so the way you have trucking companies and taxi companies, somebody has 100 taxis. In the similar manner, the tomorrow's talent management agency might just say, okay, fuck it, I don't need people. मैं तो बना लूँगा अपना. I can just make stars on digital. And it can happen. And there are people who are doing it. So how many people will do it? Who are the leaders? And how will you use that to double your income? How are you going to use that to teach? How are you going to use that to replicate yourself and add value to your family? Like, for example, there is this very, very quirky app. It was a children's app, and then we were talking about, like, I asked for some ideas, like I had to review. I was one of the super users, so I used the app. I gave some suggestions, and it was a kids app, and one of the suggestions was that whatever you are teaching now with voice AI, natural language processing, NLS, available out there in different languages. Imagine if at a click of a button, a parent lands up. Parents lands up recording the same story in their voice. So let's say the father and mother, working parents, they record themselves and then they go to work. Now the kid is listening to the same story with the whole animation, but in their father and mother's voice. Right? Now maybe father and mother cannot act, but the cadence, the more AI, natural NLS happens, the more it will start sounding. There are apps available where you can keep training, and it's available for some $20 for 6 months or something like that. And you start recording your stuff with that app every day, and over a period of time you can generate 20-30 videos every day. So with this level of content, obviously in real life we will reach a saturation point. So what are we going to do in the metaverse? How? So then the metaverse can actually be used to help people. Metaverse can actually be used to help people in real life. And that is where the whole DesiPopWorld universe that we are creating, whether it be for the fashion vertical, for the product design vertical, for the superhero vertical, for the teaching, like hardcore 3D for Twitch, like where we are looking at going, where we actually create the whole cycle and we start looking at creating teams who are speech storytellers. Because the way you have gaming competition, EA Sports, 3 years from now, there will be storytelling competitions in museums and it'll start with museums and probably certain educational institutions, but that's where we are going to go. So imagine if a improv comedy, stand-up performance theater and technology is put together, what will be the next level Broadway look like? That's where we are going to talk about on Thursday, what will be the next level Broadway look like, and well, what will be the next level Broadway with augmented reality and augmented reality look like? That will be step one. Virtual reality is the easiest because you're just creating a whole world. Between augmented reality and mixed reality. Mixed reality, we've already seen cases where the companies overpromised and there was some X billion dollars valuation and then it went down the drains. But I have seen examples where they put probably like 20 feet by 20 feet glass invisible in front of the stage, and then there's a whole augmented reality experience going on. Now, these are obviously very rich people, high-end experiential things. However, using that for education in public squares, where if that kind of material is available, or hologram, like companies like Microsoft, whatever they are doing, how do you get that to the common person? Because it doesn't make sense for somebody who's already living in a penthouse to have a VR set or be able to use all of that. They already have all that access. Going back to, like in India, VR started like 10 years ago. I remember I was marketing a movie and augmented reality I showed, and there was no reaction because the understanding that this can go so big is going to be there. So I know a lot of companies in India are doing small little pieces of AR, but how do you integrate that with geolocations in the country where still addresses are false? So how do you get accuracy? These are the kind of problems that needs to be solved for augmented reality, mixed reality to become tools for improv comedy storytellers and theater artists to integrate and look at these public performances using these tools. Okay, I think I am pretty much, what else was there? Now I'm going to talk about shows I watched. So the first show I watched was so there was this podcast of Bill Burr and Jim Gaffigan. Both are stand-up comedians, and I really love Bill Burr. So he is kind of known as this angry white man, and I've seen him perform live in Connecticut once. And some of his jokes obviously are a little kind of not my type, but most of his, especially the way he talks about the liberal hypocrisy, is just unbelievable. I love it. And then, of course, berating the right wing as well. So they were talking, and their conversation and the way they were talking about religion and Marvel and movies. I would love recommendations if there are people who. Please watch this and then let me know if you can recommend me who are the Indian guys who talk like this. Are there, like, I know the 30-year-old, 32-year-olds, what they talk about, but nobody talks at this with this kind of humor at this level. So I definitely would love to hear some Indian women, men having this kind of a back and forth and talking about things. So please do let me know. The second I did see was this mini series called Vigil. This is the woman who was also in Gentleman Jack and Foster. I forgot her name. And the reason I brought this up is, so Vigil is basically in a submarine, and there is an incident that happens, and of course there is Russia involved, and there's like somebody's following somebody, some crap like that is there. But the main thing is she's an investigative officer who suffers from claustrophobia and how she goes into the submarine. And I just like her as an actor, seeing her performances, and then what happens and how they come out. It's very well, like I really liked it. It's just mindless watching. So I did that, and then the reason I really like her is there's a show called The Gentleman Jack. It's about, she is a lesbian who started off as a closeted lesbian and how she comes out and what happens. And this is at the time of the coal era, like at the prime of coal, and how she is the older kid or the younger kid of the family, and they have this real estate and to extract coal and to deal. So how she is dealing with male chauvinism during that time and how she kind of interacts and her performance, it's just amazing. So I really loved watching Gentleman Jack. Foster was okay and Submarine was great. So this is another recommendation. Then there is this very quirky movie I saw called The French Dispatch, and the casting is unbelievable, and the movie is so quirky. Like, you really have to be high and drunk to watch that film. We watched it over two evenings, I think, and I was baked because otherwise it's just so funny, quirky. It's about this news place where they write stories, and the stories are getting enacted. So it's almost like cartoon animated painting. So people who are interested in the graphic novel industry, independent industry, and of course Wes Anderson, so his fans will obviously watch it. But people who have no clue about who all these people are, just watch this movie for the quirkiness and out there attitude of it. Like how even in a movie like this, I can see mixed media in there. I can create an arc of the mixed media. So it's pretty incredible to watch that. It will not make any sense. I just had a good laugh. Like some things I didn't understand, but it was okay. It's fine not to understand. And currently, I'm watching this Netflix series about this blind girl called In the Dark. And the girl who's the main character who played, absolutely pretty, hot, amazing, and she is not blind in real life. So obviously there was a huge controversy here about that. Oh, she's not blind. Why not cast a blind person to play blind? Now this is this is the same topic where a lot of actors are like on either side of the aisle, where people say that the job is acting, so you're supposed to act, but then giving equal opportunity to people who are disabled or are differently abled, and you have to give them opportunity. So it's a very kind of touchy subject. So, and I don't have a strong opinion about, like, yeah, I agree that they should, but I also understand what the actor's point of view is, that if, what's the point of then this job called acting if you have to just get clubbed because they feel that then they are being boxed. So I'm watching that. It's a fun, silly kind of thing. But the interesting thing about, like, for me was to observe how, like, certain things they tried, like, the typical good guy looking guy is not the same, and it's one of those multitasking shows that I'm watching. So this is as far as the um, show recommendation is concerned. So I did talk for more than an hour, and before I end, I will do one more time. So for people who came late, this is vlog 109. Today is the 4th of Jan, and one of the things is on the right, on your left side, that's my first NFT, Haryana Hurricane. I have 62 pieces, and this is one of his quotes where he says, "All artists are crazy." Do you guys think all artists are crazy? If yes, why? Please do let me know. Please do check out the NFTs range of Haryana Hurricane on OpenSea at DesiPopWorld. Check it out. Give me your feedback. I also have posted a video. My 3D work is ready. I have sent it out for printing. There were some errors in it, like I didn't do the keys properly, like the things that fit in. So they reached out and I have to redo the whole thing. So I'll take another week to apply. I'll finish it and upload it. So next week, hopefully, I'll have some news as to when I'll get the 3D. And then I'm going to go and make a whole ceramic set out of it with different pieces. So I'll go through that process and I'll upload that as well. So thank you so much one more time. And the two people, Neha and who was the other one? Naveen. So Neha and Naveen, I will reach out to you separately and we will figure out a time to talk. And tomorrow, anybody interested, please do log on to Twitch. Hassan and I will be there and we will be revealing some stuff. We will be showing some processes from ideation to 3D modeling to animation. I will figure all of that out. I need to figure out where I will do everything. So thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoyed your holidays. And I'm not a big resolution person, so 2022 has started, and I do hope that this year, at least through our network and our channel, we are looking to make some couple of hundred artwork pieces, digital pieces, animation pieces, looking to collaborate. One of our big things this year is Hassan and I, this is our kind of thing, that one, we want to launch our artist to artist program in every Indian state. We're starting with Jammu and Kashmir tomorrow. And the second is we are working on a very super secret art project where we are looking to collaborate with at least one artist from every country in the world. I think we'll have something for that in maybe summers. So fingers crossed. So thank you all so much. And please reach out, and I look forward to all your kind of feedback. Acha, bura, gali, no gali, all open. I will never block anyone if they give galis. So see you soon. Thank you.